Welcome to AREP's presentation of Pat Hyman, 6 Steps to 7 Figures. First, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Keller Williams Realty. Are there any Keller Williams people here? Thank you so much. Pride of Austin, Capital Partners. MetLife Home Loans. There you go. Nunley Inspections, Ace Relocation, Platinum Top 50, and our advertising partner, which is Independence Title Company. Thank you so much for making this possible. Our mission is to innovate, to educate, and connect Austin real estate professionals for the betterment of the entire industry. They say rising tides lifts all ships, and it is incumbent on all of us to be that tide, to be the professional, the expert. Today, we are fortunate to have one of the top experts in our field share with us his method of success. That's Pat Hyman. As a young child, Pat Hyman was labeled learning disabled with speech deficiencies and put into special classes. Throughout his teenage years, he struggled to find his purpose, failing forward through life and trying everything, including 2 years as a 4th-string lacrosse player, bench warmer. He graduated college with a degree in sociology with a 2.6 GPA, jumping into real estate straight out of college after being turned down by several corporate sales positions. Pat sold 10 homes his first year, 6 condos, 1 house, and 3 mobile homes, earning a total of $13,200. Through consistent application of 6 steps, Pat grew his real estate business each and every year. In 2004, he was named #1 realtor in the world with RE/MAX. And in 2006, #1 in the world with Keller Williams. He is now one of only a handful of residential realtors to be recognized as a $1 billion agent. That's $1 billion in sales volume. Pat is still active in real estate, selling over 250 homes yearly, in addition to being an avid real estate investor and a venture capitalist. On average, Pat takes 153 days off a year to spend with his wife of 18 years and his 2 daughters. He's going to show you today a process that will allow you to do the same. He lives in the suburb of Baltimore, Maryland, and Pat has written a book, 6 Steps to 7 Figures, with an introduction by Gary Keller, in which he shares the secrets of the 6 steps that propelled his life to where it is today. Please welcome Mr. Pat Hyman.
So there I was. I was 16 years old and 1 month. I had had my driver's license for 5 days. My best friend in the world, Mike Devlin, who was 15 years old, had convinced me through peer pressure to drive to a soccer game in Washington, D.C. After the soccer game, we came home, and unfortunately, we got lost. We ended up in the worst neighborhoods of Washington, D.C., driving around aimlessly, fighting about which way to go. And as we were arguing, the car broke down. You see, I had a 1963 Plymouth Duster that my grandfather had given me. And the car breaks down, and Mike and I are arguing, and we're talking about a strategy of, should we walk, should we hitchhike, what should we do? Bear in mind, this is 1980. There's no cell phones, there's no GPS. There's nothing we could do. It's a Sunday night at about 7:30. Just as we're getting to the height of our argument, a state trooper pulls up behind us. He gets out of the car, he says, guys, I cannot fix cars, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of you to a service station and drop you off, and I want the other one to go to sleep and hang out in the back of the car. So Mike quickly volunteered to be the one that hangs out in the back of the car, and the trooper took me to the service station. Being the nice trooper that he was, he dropped me off and took off on his way. There was an old man working at the service station by himself. He looks up from the television set that he's watching, and he says, what do you want? And I said, sir, I'm sorry, but I've broken down on the side of the road. I need your help. I need you to come fix my car. He says to me, Sonny, he says, I'm the sole proprietor here. If I leave and someone wants to come buy a tank of gas, I'm out the money for the tank of gas. I'm not going to shut down just for you. So I'd like to tell you guys that I have known sales skills, and I've been a salesperson all my life, and I've been a great persuader, but the reality of it is that's not true. I was 16 years old. I did the only thing I knew how to do to persuade people. I started to cry. So there I am crying. He looks at me, he's like, you've got to be kidding me. Make a long story short, he ends up shutting down the gas station. He drives to the car. He promptly pops open the hood. Just imagine the hood. There's a bunch of water or crap or some sort of fluid dripping on the ground. He's looking under the hood. He goes, Sonny, hand me the owner's manual. I look at him because the owner's manual wasn't on the driver's test. I say, Mike, what's an owner's manual? Mike says, oh, I know what that is. He goes in the glove box, pulls out everything in the glove box, hands it to me. I hand it to old Grumpy. Old Grumpy grabs the owner's manual, grabs a big pile of paper. He's sorting through them, and unfortunately, it's just a bunch of old receipts, right? A matchbook, some coffee-stained papers. He says, this is not an owner's manual. This is a bunch of junk. He hands it back to me. I hand it back to Mike. Said, Mike, that's not an owner's manual. I tell old Grumpy, I'm sorry, sir, but this is all we have. He slams down the hood. He says, you guys get in the tow truck. I got to tow you home. We say, great. We get in this tow truck. We're sitting there. Old Grumpy turns to me and says, where do you live? I said, well, here's my address. He said, how do I get there? I said, well, I'm sorry, we don't know. We're lost. As a matter of fact, we were just arguing about that. You just start seeing him fuming. His face turns red. He looks at Mike and I, and he goes, I cannot believe that you would come to the District of Columbia with no map and no owner's manual. We just kind of shrug. And this story leads me to this thought, and that is, if I could show you, if I had a map that would show you how I went from 10 sales a year to over 500 sales a year, 3 years in a row, would you want that map? If that same exact map showed you how I went from being a raging workaholic to how I used to work every single day, 365 days a year, and for the last 10 years I've taken an average of 153 days off every year, would you want that same map?
Yes.
Well, my goal today is not only to give you that map, but also give you the owner's manual. The map is today's presentation. The owner's manual is my book. My book is called 6 Steps to 7 Figures. Now, you might ask yourself, what is Pat doing here in Austin? I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Why am I here a month before the actual release date? You see, the book is not released until September 26. Does anybody know what book of all books in the world may have sold more copies than any other book? Bible, right? Everyone says Bible. Okay, well, why is it that if you look in the bestseller list on this week's New York Times, the #1 book is Kardashian Confidential by Kim Kardashian? How come the Bible's not on that list? Where's the Bible? Does anybody know? Right? Why does Snooki, right, from Jersey Shore get on the bestseller list? The reason is because a bestseller list is built on 1 week. My week is September 26th to October 3rd. So the goal is to spend 6 months ahead of the release date selling books. And I want to thank you in advance because everybody here, little did you know, but you bought a book today. With your entry fees, your sponsors bought everybody here a book. So everybody here is getting a book sent to their home address. And the reason it has to go to your home address is because if I mail a shipment of 1,000 books to an office address, it only counts as 1 book sale. That's cheating, right? I mean, this is the New York Times, Wall Street Journal. You can't cheat these guys, okay? They follow up. So that's what I'm doing. My goal is to get onto the bestseller list. So far, I've sold 5,300 copies. I need to get close to 9,000 copies. So I got 3,700 copies I got to go. Okay? So are you guys going to spread the word today, after today, and help me get on the bestseller list? Sure. You promise? Yes. Okay. So what my goal is today is that I have used these 6 steps throughout my whole entire life to meet any goal that I've set. And my goal for you today is that if I were to wake you up in the middle of the night tonight at 3 in the morning and say, what are the 6 steps that you would be able to repeat them instantly? Okay? So in order to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each of the 6 steps with you, but after each step, I'm going to say, what is step 1? Okay? And then you're going to say the word, right? And then I'm going to say, what is step 2? And you're going to go, But after each word, you're going to clap. So I just want to make sure you guys got this. I'm going to say, what is step 1? You're going to go, clap. I'm going to say, what is step 2? You're going to go, clap. You got that? Okay, good. So you know the first 2 steps, Now for step 3. All right. Step 1 is affirm. Affirm. Has anybody ever pledged a fraternity, sorority, Marine boot camp, any sort of military boot camp? Has anybody ever had an experience where they had to do something like that before? Okay. When I was 19 years old, I decided to pledge a fraternity. Okay? And what we were told as pledges was that in order for us to get to know the brothers and get to know their names, when we saw them on campus, we had to call them by their last name and address them by their last name. And I went to a small college in Western Maryland. If you can imagine a big green square area, and all the buildings where the kids went to classes surrounded this area, this quad, so to speak. And in the middle of the quad was a couple of benches and a couple statues that were made for a couple dead guys that donated money to the college, right? So throughout the day, you were crisscrossing paths with the same people. It's about 3,000 kids, okay? So throughout the day on my way to biology class, I would see a brother in the fraternity, and as a pledge, I would stop and say, "Good morning, Mr. Johnson, sir!" And Mr. Johnson would walk up to me, and he would say, "Iota Phi Tau Sigma." Now here's the funny thing. Iota Phi Tau Sigma was not the name of the fraternity. This had nothing to do with any of the fraternal letters. And so for 8 weeks, as pledges, we would walk 5, 6, 7 times a day. "Good morning, Mr. Gustafson, sir!" Iota Phi Tau Sigma. And walk on. And over the course of 8 weeks, we started with 12 pledges, 7 quit. 7 pledges said, "Forget this. I'm not embarrassing myself in front of all these pretty girls every day. I'm not putting up with this." They quit. 5 of us are left. We get in. What's the first thing you think the 5 guys that made it in ask? What in the heck is iota phi tau sigma? And the answer to that was, iota phi tau sigma are the Greek letters. Who knows Greek alphabet? I, F, T, S, right? I, F, T, S means in from the start. In from the start. And what in from the start means is they said when we founded this fraternity, we did not want it to be a clique. Because we noticed that a lot of fraternities are clique. I mean, you have a Jewish fraternity, you have a Catholic fraternity, you have a football fraternity, you have a druggie fraternity, you have a preppy fraternity, right? You have all these fraternities that are cliques. We didn't want it to be a clique. We wanted all races, all religions, all sports to be part of this fraternity. And the only way we could do that is to tell the brothers that were in the fraternity that anybody that raises their hand and says, I want to join, is automatically in from the first day. There's only one way you can get kicked out. And what is that? Quit. You are in from the start unless you quit. And see, this relates back to affirm, because I think that what happens to us as human beings is that we don't believe that we are in from the start. And there's a reason for this. We don't believe that we're going to make our goals that we set. And there's a reason for this. Did you ever hear that the average 2-year-old hears 40 negatives to every 1 positive they hear? Have you heard this? Right? Have you heard that? Think about a 2-year-old boy. Aren't the parents always saying, don't touch that? Be careful. Don't do that. Come back. Stop. Don't. Right? Imagine if you had to reverse it. Imagine if you had to say 40 positive things to a 2-year-old boy for every 1 negative thing. Would that be possible? You'd be good job, Johnny, touching that light switch. Stick your finger in there farther. Matter of fact, hit all these light switches. You're going to be an electrician someday. You're going to be the best electrician ever. It'd be impossible. And so what happens is, as we grow up, we're taught not to believe in ourselves. And over time, in order for us to achieve goals, we need to reaffirm that we are actually made to reach these goals. Are you following me? Let me ask you a question. At what age or at what point do parents give up on a little baby learning to walk? Don't they say, oh, this little baby has fallen 306 times. It's never going to walk. No, they don't give up, right? Because that baby's in from the start, right? Who here, do you guys know who Kid Rock is? Okay. I saw a really interesting interview with Kid Rock. And I'm going to paraphrase, but it was very candid. The interviewer was talking to him, and he said, Kid, he said, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to be right up front. He said, as far as the looks department go, you are far from a Justin Timberlake. Right? This is what he said. He said, you are far from a Justin Timberlake. He goes, a lot of people can't figure you out because you don't know what your genre is. And for you guys that don't use iTunes, genres like, you know, country, rock, funk, whatever. You don't know what your genre is, right? One day you're country, next day you're rap, next day you're rock and roll. He said, but every time you do an album, it seems to go gold, and you keep ending up on all these award shows. You're on the Country Music Awards. You're on the Grammys. You sung at the halftime of the Super Bowl, right? He said, when you were growing up in Detroit, Michigan, as a runaway child who never even got out of high school, did you ever think that you would be singing at the halftime of the Super Bowl and so successful? And Kid Rock just looked him dead in the eye and said, every day. And I said, wow, this guy knows he's in from the start, right? He knew he's in from the start every day. And that's what's helped him be so successful. So since we all don't believe that we're in from the start, for the past 20 years, I've created affirmations that have allowed me to believe that I'm in from the start. And in my book, I have about 30 of them, but here I just put some basic ones up here. I make more than $105,000 per year. This was set in 1990, achieved the next year. I own multiple rental properties. I take 150 days off. I have a receptionist on my team. I settle over 100 homes this year. Little by little, every year, now I have on my iPhone, I have these affirmations, right? And I listen to them for 5 minutes a day on my way to work every single day. For the past 22 years, I've had affirmations playing in my ear every day. Now, let me ask you a question. If you set an affirmation for a goal that you made, let's say your goal was, I am a $20 million producer, or your goal is I save $10 a day, or I call 5 past clients a day. Let's take I call 5 past clients a day. If you set an affirmation that says I call 5 past clients a day, and you listen to that for 10 years, is it not 10 years, 2 years. Is it possible after 2 years that you're going to not start calling 5 past clients a day? One of two things is going to happen, right? Number one, you're going to start calling past clients. Number two, you're going to what? Quit. Do the same thing the pledges did that didn't believe they were in from the start. You're going to quit. You're going to take your iPhone, you're going to throw it out the window and say, I'm such a hypocrite. I keep saying I call 5 past clients a day, and for 2 years I've never called a single past client, and you're going to throw it out the window, right? One of two things are going to happen. All you need to do is don't quit. This is a, did anybody here take Floyd Wickman's Sweat Hogs? If you remember, one of the things Floyd did is he had us make a 8.5 by 11 keychain. This was a keychain I carried around. It says by April 15th I'll be able to comfortably buy a nice townhouse. I made this goal, and I had to carry this big obnoxious keychain around with me. Now, do you think that me carrying a keychain around was going to make people curious to the point where they might ask me, what is that keychain? And do you think by me telling them, oh, this keychain says I'm going to buy a house by April 15th, do you think that in itself was an affirmation? Me saying that over and over again? Who saw The Secret? Everybody just about, right? Okay, I have a big problem with The Secret. It was a great production, and it was really cool to watch. But the reality of it is, it dates to what Jim Rohn, if you guys know Jim Rohn, what he said. He has a statement that says, affirmation without discipline is delusion. Write that down, right? Affirmation without discipline is delusion. And what that means is you can't say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, and then all of a sudden $1 million is going to fall from the roof, right? You have to say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, and then you have to say, I save $10 a day. Or I do something that makes that $1 million. Are you with me? So you have to. So I set a big goal, an end goal. I'm a $20 million producer. Then I set an action-oriented goal, which is I lead generate 2 hours per day. You have to have the big goal, and then you have to have the action-oriented goal of what you're physically going to do to get there. So everybody do me a favor. Under step 1, write down a big goal that you have for this year. What's a big goal? Or maybe for 2012. Might be I want to do a certain volume. I want to sell a certain amount of houses. I want to earn a certain amount of money. Just write it down on your piece of paper. And then under it, write the action goal. Affirmation without discipline is delusion. So what are you going to do to get there? Right? Every day. Now, turn them both into affirmations as if they already exist. Turn them both into something that you're going to put on your iPhone, you're going to listen to every day to believe that you are in from the start. Just like Kid Rock believed he is in from the start. You got it? Okay, so I'm going to get you guys to yell out step 1. Are you ready? What is step 1? Okay. Jeez. Here's how it works. I say, what is step 1? You say, affirm.
Affirm.
Right? Affirm. Affirm. Okay, let's try it again. Rewind the tape. Okay. What is step 1?
Affirm.
Good job. All right. Step 2, track. Track. Why does Weight Watchers work so well? Huh? Tracks your progress. Is it true that if you go on Weight Watchers and you eat one peanut M&M, you have to write it down? Is that true? Okay. What happens if someone's on Weight Watchers for 90 days and they're doing really good and they lose 15 pounds? They're feeling really good about themselves, and then on the 91st day, they stop tracking. What happens? Is it that simple? Is it that simple? Take 2 women. One, she's already laughing. It's not even a joke. Take 2 women. She's like, I heard that one before. I haven't heard it. Okay, take 2 women. One tracks every penny she spends. The other doesn't track a single penny she spends. Who's richer? Is it that simple? Every successful realtor that I know tracks like crazy. Bottom line, I've met thousands of them. Most unsuccessful realtors don't track anything. I track everything. 2008, I had no foreclosure listings. Okay? We used to do a ton of branding. I mean, I did television commercials, radio commercials. We just bought business, right? This was back in the day you could spend money to make money, right? All of a sudden, the faucets shut off in our market. We dropped number of units in our market, houses sold, not just by me, but by everybody, dropped 35% one year, 35% the next year, and 30% the next year. I wanted to get back into the big numbers. And I knew that if I got into foreclosures, that I could get there. So I went out and decided to get into foreclosures. Now, in 2008, what do you think the advice I got from a lot of people that were in foreclosures or heard about foreclosure business? What do you think they told me? It's too late, it's locked up, right? So I got out and I wrote a list of every single foreclosure company that I could possibly get in with, and I went to prospecting to them to try to get business with them. By the end of last year, I had 325 foreclosure listings. Currently, we have 42 banks that we work with that give us foreclosure listings on a regular basis. We've got 3 yesterday, okay? This picture was taken when I was tracking all these companies. At that point, I had 37. Now we have 42. My personal life I track. I have 2 teenage daughters, 15 and 16. My goal is to have a date with each one, in addition to my wife, this year. 1 date a month. My wife is easy, right? So at that age, we can go out at any time. My 15-year-old likes to run. She's a jogger. She's on a track team, right? I'm sure this is how it is in Austin, but being as hot as it is here, I don't know. But in Baltimore, on any given Saturday, you could find about 4 or 5 5K, like charity 5Ks, within a half-hour drive. Okay? So once a month, Kaylee and I run a 5K together. All right? And that's our date. Her and I just jog together. Of course, she has her headset on, but I'll take what I can get. Right? So those are the dates right there. With Kaylee, I got 7 dates. Now, you'll see with Heather, here it is August, almost September, and I only have 2 dates with my 16-year-old. Now, do you think that I don't know that I need to catch up with Heather on dates? If I pass this 5 or 6 times a day, Do you think it's top of my mind? Oh crap! Heather and I got to do something. Do you think that that's a case? Well, it's true. And her and I decided right before I left that I was going to be the one that's teaching her how to drive. She scared the crap out of my wife, and she'll never teach her anyways. She said, I'm not going to teach. So anyways, I decided, okay, if I take you driving for 2 hours, that counts as a date. Because, see, she really won't let me do a normal date because she has too many rules. Meaning, when we're out in public, I'm not allowed to talk to anybody. And I've sold 4,000 homes in my hometown, and inevitably I could walk into a Kmart and see 5 people that I know, right? And of course she hates that. So there's just way too many rules. So she refuses to kind of like go out with me, right? So this is how we're going to do it. But anyways, the point is I track everything. I want to do yoga 50 times this year. So far I've done it 21 times. You think I'm aware of that? You think if I walk past this, I go, man, I got to do some yoga. I got to catch up, right? This is my book sales, right? This was taken, I'm up to about 5,300, but you can see here, I've been going around the country, one book by one book by one book. I sell another 100 today, right? Austin, right there. Put 100, right? There you go. Thank you. So everybody take a second, turn to the person to your right or your left, and tell them one thing you're going to track and how you're going to track it. A lot of agents use a thermometer. You seen a thermometer? A lot of people just do this. Just talk about it now. Okay. All right. Woo! Shh. Good job. Good job, trackers. Okay. Write this down. Write this down. That which is measured expands. That which is measured expands. Okay. Are you ready to yell back the first 2 steps? You guys ready? You got the clap thing down, right? Okay. You ready? What is step 1? What is step 2? Good job. All right. Step 3. Mentors. Mentors. I started in 1987. I got turned down by 4 companies because I was substitute teaching on the side and I was 21 years old. Had 2 strikes against me because back then it didn't take part-time agents. I was considered part-time and I was also considered young. Now, I finally got a job with a company called Grempler Realty. It's 40 agents, 41 agents. It was about a third the size of this. I would say the entire office was about the size of this room. It had 1 manager's office, 1 conference room, 1 big, massive bullpen, and then it had an office with 2 desks in it. They sat me in a cube between 2 women. There's a 2 women joke again here. What do you call Marge Simpson's hairdo? Beehive, right? Okay, imagine 2 women with beehives smoking incessantly. This is back when you could smoke in the office. Sat me right in the middle. I have asthma, and I'm very health conscious. And these 2 women, they were mad that I came to work there because they had to move their ashtray. They had one of these big, massive marble ashtrays. They had to put it back on the copier because I moved into that office. Imagine everyone's so, everyone's into the disinfectant and stuff. Now imagine what that desk looked like. It was, anyways. So anyways, I cleaned off the desk. I sat there. After a month, I couldn't take it any longer. I went to the office manager. Her name was Pam. She was very much by the book. She was one of the type that if you showed up, they were big into floor duty, and if you showed up 5 minutes late for floor duty, she took you off the entire month's schedule and she put a big red marker across your name, big X, right? I went to her, I said, Pam, listen, they're blowing smoke on me, I have asthma, I was wondering if I could change locations. She looked right at me, she said, absolutely not. See, I hadn't sold a house yet, right? I hadn't proved myself. I said, Pam, I don't understand. I said, there's an office in the back there, there's a guy that sits there by himself, and right behind him is a desk with a bunch of boxes on it that nobody uses. Why can't I sit in there? She said, that is Irv Norgren. He is the top agent. He owns half of the county, and he does not want you bothering him. And I said, Pam, what if I at least ask him? And I'll never forget this. She looked right at me and she said, it's a free country. And she walked away. So I immediately went to Irv Norgren and I asked him, now what do you think a commonality I had in the real estate business with Irv Norgren in 1987? What's something? Think demographics. Both men. 42 agents in the office, 40 women. That was the world. There were no men agents. There were no, and this is Austin Young, real estate professional. There were no agents under 50. I mean, I don't know if, who was licensed back then, but I mean, that's the realistic truth of it. Okay, I went to Irv. He said, sure, no problem. He cleaned off all the boxes on the other desk and let me sit right there. As time went on, I started to repeat what he said. He would talk to a buyer or seller. He said, hey, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da. Then next thing you know, I'd get a call. I'd talk to them. I go, hey, da-da-da-da-da. One day he turns around and he says, it's starting to echo in here. Now, do you think that me copycatting him so clearly made him more likely to teach me and to give me advice, or less likely? More likely, right? And it was from that point on that I realized the value of having a mentor. And since that time, I've had over 50 mentors in my career. Okay? Here's a question. How many mentors do you think one person should have? As many as possible. Bingo. Right? I have mentors for everything. I have a mentor how to be a good husband. I have a mentor how to be a good parent. Right? I have a mentor how to deal with investment properties. I have a mentor how to sell more properties. Right? So have as many mentors as you can. Has anybody ever seen a barrel of monkeys? Do you remember this barrel of monkeys thing when you were younger? You know this barrel? You know what who knows what a barrel of monkeys is, right? Okay, barrel of monkeys is a bunch of monkeys that you hook together. It's like one that reaches down like this and one that reaches up like this, right? Something like this. I told you I'm doing yoga. This is crouching realtor, right? So this is a barrel of monkeys, right? And I think of having mentors as being like a monkey in a barrel of monkeys. Like you should be reaching up to as many monkeys as you can to pull you up, but at the same time you should be reaching down, pulling others up. About a decade ago, I had the unfortunate event of having a good friend of mine die. His name was Ken Hovitt. He got kidney cancer, and he died. Now, Ken was a high school football coach. Now, do you think that a high school football coach in a public school system has the ability to develop mentees? Right? Do you think that that's possible? Right. As a matter of fact, he developed tons. At his funeral, he had 8 eulogies. There were about 50 grown men, and I said grown men, 25. I think, his oldest ex-student was maybe 32 or something like that, right? Over the years, he developed these guys, and all crying their eyes out, okay? All former football players. 8 eulogies. All of them said, Ken taught me how to respect my mom. Ken taught me the value of education, and because he taught me that, I went to college, I got my PhD, I did this. Ken taught me this, Ken taught me that, Ken taught me that. I walked out of that funeral going, gosh, Ken is immortal, right? He's not dead. These guys are going to go talk about Ken to their younger brothers, to their kids, to kids they might work with, right? And I heard a quote that says, having a mentee is your only chance of immortality, right? Having a mentee is your only chance of immortality. And I started thinking to myself, man, I got to start developing mentees. And over time, I've developed about 12 really solid mentees. And one of the things that I do with my mentees is at the end of every year, we sit down and we write our goals. I write my goals and share them candidly with them. They write their goals and share them candidly with me. Now, if a mentee decides to make a big life change, such as quitting their job and opening their own company, who do you think is going to be, besides their spouse, who do you think is going to be the first person going to know about that? The mentor, right? So I have a mentor named Mark Swagger. Mark was in the payroll business for 15 years. He developed a huge book of payroll where they process paychecks. He wanted to go out on his own, but he had 3 little girls, no money in the bank. He came to me, his mentor. I gave him money to start his company. Now I own 20% of that company. I'll make about $70,000 this year just on Infinity HR. He's processing about 8,000 paychecks every 2 weeks. I have another mentee. His name is Jason Gennady. I met Jason in a Subway sandwich shop. He introduced himself to me while I was ordering a sub. After I met, he called me the next day. He said, Pat, I'm 17 years old. I decided not to go to college. My father told me that if I wasn't going to college, I needed to find a mentor in the business community and come work for them. They can pay me whatever they want to pay me, and I do whatever they tell me to do. I said, good, come in tomorrow, 8:30, wear a tie. He showed up the next day wearing a tie, went to work as a receptionist. Then we had him washing mud off of signs, putting up open house signs, doing all the dirty work. He eventually got his real estate license. He sold 8 houses at 18 years of age. Then he decided to go back to school. Fast forward a decade, he gets connected with some partners. They develop a small company that's a software company. They create a software. They need a patent. They can't afford to pay the attorney. They need $100,000. Who do you think he comes to? Me. I now own 10% of his company, doing very well with that company. So the point is, there's many fringe benefits to having mentees as well as mentors. And you need to constantly be thinking in that direction, right? So do me a favor. Write down 2 or 3 people that you think could be a mentor to you. Who could be a mentor to you? And these people don't even have to, you don't have to meet these people. They could be Tony Robbins or anybody. Possible mentors. Underneath that, write down 2 or 3 people that are going to allow you to be immortal. Allow you to be immortal. Who are some mentees that look up to you that you could help? And remember, mentees can be very specific. When I wanted to get into the foreclosure business, I needed a mentor that had gone from 0 foreclosures to 200 foreclosures in a year. I didn't want one of these guys who'd been in the foreclosure business for 20 years and was going to tell me, oh, it took a lot of work. And I want someone who's going to say, man, I got in there, it was easy, and 1 year I got 200 listings. I found an agent in Virginia Beach, Virginia. This is her. I said, will you be my mentor? She said, Pat, a lot of people ask me this, to be their mentor. So I'm going to tell you to do 3 things. And if you call me back in 2 weeks and prove to me you've done these 3 things, I'll be your mentor. Now, in the next chapter, I'm going to tell you what those 3 things specifically were. But the point is, mentors can be very specific. She is only my mentor for foreclosures, right? Every goal that I set, after I set it, I pick a mentor. Step 4, work. Shall We didn't clap. Okay, we're going to clap now. But, so I'll make it easy for you. We can go do all 4. All right? Are you ready? Ready. What is step 1? Learn. What is step 2? Track. What is step 3? Mentor. What is step 4? Work. All right. Here's the thing with work. I got a guy that built my website to sell my books. He said, Pat, we got to give something away for free. I said, great, I'll give away a free chapter. Right? He said, well, one thing that we absolutely cannot give away free is chapter 4. He said, nobody in their right mind is going to buy a book on how to get rich after reading a chapter that tells them the way to get rich is to work. Right? But the reality of it is nothing great comes without sacrifice. Okay? There's no winning the lottery. All right? You've got to work. Now, I'm going to tell everybody here how to get rich in real estate, how to double your transactions guaranteed. Okay? So we're going to play a little game. Everybody stand up. Now, I have, some of you might, I'm not that tall, but some of you might be able to see me, might not be able to see me. But I have 4 hand signals that I want to show you, and I'm hoping that you'll know all 4. Okay? The first is, what does this mean? Everyone has a, yeah, hang loose, right? Hang loose is like Hawaii, chill, right? Hang loose, chillax. Right? Hang loose, really hang loose. Okay, what is this? All right. Now, in every place but Texas, this means long live rock and roll. Just in case. You see some long-haired guy with a bandana going this, he's not saying, oh, you must be from Texas, right? This means long live rock and roll. In Texas, hook 'em horns, okay? You got 2. What does this mean? I'm down here. It's kind of like a hang loose, but it's down by below my waist.
Never seen that one. Hang low.
All right. Repeat after me. Ready? No money. No money. Okay. Here's the number 4. What does this mean?
Money.
Money. Okay? Money. So we're going to play a little game. When you see my hand go down, you say no money. When you see it go up, you say money. Okay? Are you ready?
Ready.
No money. No money. Money. No money. Money. No money. Money.
Money. Money. Money. Money. Money. Money. Money. Good job. You guys should sit down. You got to get on the phone and call people if you want to make money. It's not, you can't double your business without doing something different and being aggressive and start handing out cards. Start calling people. Start calling your past clients. Start calling FSBOs, expired. Whatever you're good at, you've got to get on the phone. One of the things that Chantel Ray, my foreclosure mentor, taught me was this. You reap what you sow 100% of the time. It's written up there. I'll repeat that, and you should write it down. You reap what you sow 100% of the time. What does that mean?
What you do is the action of what you receive.
Right. You get out what you put in. Guaranteed. Right? Here's what Chantel told me. She said, Pat, do these 3 things, I'll be your mentor. Here's how I went from 0 to 200 REOs in a year. Here's how she did the same thing. Step 1, fill out application with bank. Right? Fill out, right? Find a bank, Bank of America, IndyMac, right? Wells Fargo. Go to their website, fill out application, right? Step 2, call bank. Right? Step 3, repeat. Now, if you did that 50 times a week for a year, do you think you would get some accounts? Right. Floyd Wickman said the same thing. He said the secret to success is a three-step process. Step 1, CETO. Who knows what CETO is? Come into office. Step 2, pick up crisscross. You guys know what crisscross is? Just a directory of everybody's names and address. Step 3, call until you get an appointment. Floyd Wickman said, you should not be doing anything. If you don't have appointments, you should be on the phone calling everybody till you get an appointment. And I went, my first year I made $13,000, my second year I made $24,000, my third year is when I started picking up the crisscross and calling everybody on the street. I made $83,000. And that big jump was simply from calling, saying, are you thinking about selling your house now or in the near future? Right? So you'll understand the work concept. Nothing great comes without sacrifice. Okay. Step 5 is build. Build. So let's try this. You guys ready? What is step 1? Work. What is step 2? Train. What is step 3? Build. What is step 4? Work. What is step 5? Build. Good job. I took a class from a guy named Dr. Fred Gross. Anybody here Dr. Fred Gross? A few of you guys? Dr. Fred Gross is a funny guy, right? He's a retired Jewish rabbi who invested in a bunch of real estate, got really rich, and decided to train agents on building their life. Sat in the front row of one of his seminars. He said, I want everybody to close their eyes and visualize your life in 10 years, what your family looks like, what your house looks like, how many houses you've sold, how much money you have in the bank. I remember looking at Dr. Fred, staring him right in the eye and saying, raising my hand, I said, Dr. Fred, I can't do that. And he said to me, why not? And I said, I'm afraid that if I write down what my life will be like in 10 years, I'll jinx it. Who here doesn't write down or calculate what their commission is until after settlement because you're afraid you're going to jinx it? I know there's a bunch of you guys in here, right? Same concept, right? I didn't want to jinx it. He came, I'll never forget, he came right up to me and he said, Sonny, he said, that's ridiculous. He said, would you ever build a house without a blueprint? Right? And I said, no. And I said, I can visualize what my life might be like, but I have trouble putting it in words. Right? He said to me, he said, young man, he said, start with a success. Build from a success up, not from the ground up. How many people, what's easier to do? Get a listing in a neighborhood where you already have a listing, or get a listing in a neighborhood where you don't have, never have had a listing? Well, you already have one, right? Because you're able to build on that success. Even if that listing's not sold, you can build from a success up, not from the ground up. So taking that in mind, every goal that I set after that time, I started to build from the ground up, okay? Build from a success up. Yes. Help. Okay. 2005, I sold 508 homes. Not a single house was over $1 million. Okay? Matter of fact, I'd only sold one house over $1 million in my career. It was 12 years earlier. There were agents out there that were getting commissions of $50,000, $40,000, $30,000, doing the same or less work as me, and I was only getting $3,000 or $4,000, $7,000 a commission. You guys know, have you been there 5, 6 years ago? Right? Houses selling in a weekend, big fat commissions, right? I said to myself, I'm going to get in the $1 million home market. I'm going to get in the luxury homes. This was September. I said in 2006, I'm going to sell 10 houses and settle 10 houses over $1 million. I went to work building a plan, my blueprint for my house, right? First thing I did is I called the success that I had 12 years ago, and his name was Bernie Dansell. I called him. I said, Bernie, hey, how you doing? Haven't talked to you in 12 years. He said, I'm trying to get in the $1 million home market. Can I get a testimonial from you about me? He said, sure. He said, Pat is great, whatever. I wrote it down. I said, thank you. I said, can I take a picture of your house? He said, sure. I ran over, took a picture of his house. I created a brochure that said, $1.1 million sale, and his quote with his name. Then I decided to start calling the expireds. I only called expireds over $1 million because my goal was to get into the expired market. We had sold 500 houses the year before, but they were all townhouses, condos, just small things, right? So I didn't want any more of those, right? I already had that market. I ended up calling expired. A house was listed for a year for $1.3 million. The tax assessment was $650. Now, you think I was going to sell that house? No, right? Because I listed it after the other agent had it for a year for $1.3 million. Of course, you know you get this, right? Doesn't want to drop the price. Does anybody know what a conversation pit is? Does anyone know? Have you seen this architectural brilliance of a conversation pit? Conversation pit is a box that comes out of the wall of a room that comes out and then drops. So you have a box that goes like around the room like this, and it's supposed to be like built-in furniture, right? But I don't know what happened, but everyone is supposed to come sit there, right? The only thing I can visualize is like a big hookah in the middle and everybody smoking it. It was like a piece of architecture from like 1970 to 1972 and a half, right? They rarely do you see them now, but this house had this big, massive conversation pit. It was what they call, remember real estate school? They taught you a definition called functionally obsolete. This house was functionally obsolete. Anyways, I knew I wasn't going to sell this house, but I wanted to build, as Dr. Fred taught me, from a success up rather than the ground up. I wanted to have another success. And in my mind, having a listing, even though it wasn't going to sell, was a success, right? I put it on my website, front page. I took down all the condos, front page, featured home. Front page of the Home Buyer's Journal, right? I made 50 brochures, really expensive brochures. We ended up getting a call from our Home Buyer's Journal ad on the front page. Guy had a $1.4 million house. I brought over to his house Bernie Dansell's testimonial, right? I bought 3 brochures from the Conversation Pit house, right? I brought him the front page of the Home Buyer's Journal. I ripped out all our other ads, right, and just showed him the front page. Because, again, I'm building on a success up, not the ground up. He listed that house. We ended up eventually listing this house. This house sold in 2 showings, $2.2 million, okay? 2 showings. We made 50 brochures. We had 48 of these really, really nice brochures. We walked the neighborhood, hung all the brochures on every neighbor's house in the neighborhood. Have you ever heard the phenomena that if one house goes up for sale in a neighborhood, that it is guaranteed that within 30 days, a second for sale sign will show up? Have you heard that phenomenon? Do you believe that? Can't explain it, but it always happens. We walked the neighborhood, hung these really nice brochures on everybody's doorknob. Listen, we just sold your neighbor's house. If you want the same marketing, we'll do the same for you. Building on a success up, right? We just sold the house, success up. We listed another house, $2.5 million. So only 2 residential non-farms that sold in our area that year, over $2 million. I sold them both. End of the year, 2006, how many homes do you think I sold over $1 million? 10. Uncanny. 10 settlements over $1 million. All because of, in August of the year prior, I built a plan of how I was going to get in the $1 million range. What are these? Anybody here journal? Diary? Good. This is 20-some years of journals. Every goal that I set, I write in my journal, building from a success up. How am I going to get there? Right? Wanting to get into foreclosures. How am I going to get there? First step, find a mentor. Second step, get my first foreclosures. You know, blah, blah, blah. How I want to get in the $1 million range. How I want to do this. How am I going to sell 9,000 books? Everything, I'm building blueprints, right? I had a teacher in one of my classes. She was a part-time agent teacher. She raises her hand. She says, Pat, I am great at talking. I'm a teacher. I'm one of the most liked teachers in the school. Terrible at writing things down. I said, okay, let's play with this. I said, what is a success that you've had recently you can build up on? She said, I just listed the math teacher's class. Math teacher's house. I said, great. Write her name down. Write the address down. What can you do to build on that success? She said, well, I heard you tell the story about the testimonial. I can get a testimonial. I said, good, write it down. I said, what else could you do? She goes, well, we all eat lunch together. I can post a brochure in the lunchroom. I said, great, write that down. I said, what else could you do? She said, I don't know. I said, well, if you did know, what could you do? She said, well, I play bridge with another teacher on the teachers' union. I said, write it down. I said, maybe you could advertise in a teacher's union. Maybe there's a newspaper or something, right? Next thing you know, by the time we finished, she had a written down plan of how she was going to become the teacher's realtor of choice in her school system. Now, do you think her chances of success were 10 times greater now that she has a written plan as opposed to 10 minutes before when she said, I can't write anything down? Do you believe that? So I encourage you guys to go to Borders before they shut their doors for good and buy a journal, because they're selling them for 5 cents now, and start journaling blueprints of how you're going to achieve your goals. Okay? So, let me go into this. Before I go into step 6, everybody here got a book for free, thanks to your sponsors. Okay? I had a guy call me and create 3 CDs where it was a recorded conversation, like an interview with me. How to take more time off, how to develop a team, and how to build an REO business. My goal, as you know, is to reach 9,000 books. One of the ways I'm doing that is if you buy 5 books at the list price, which is $16.95 today, I'll ship them to your home address, no shipping, whatever. $16.95 a book times 5 is like $84. And I'll give you the CDs, these 3 CDs, for free. Okay? Just an added incentive. You can take the books, give them to your 4 favorite co-op realtors or your 5 favorite co-op realtors. No matter what, you already have 1, so this would make 6 if you bought 5 more. Okay? Just a little plug there if you want to help me get there. Okay. Step 6 is invest. Invest. Let's try this. Are you ready? What is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? What is step 4? What is step 5? What is step 6? Good. Is it possible? I don't want to be negative here, okay? I don't want to down anybody out. But it has been 10 years or more since 9/11, right? Is it possible in our society today that something bad could happen, similar to 9/11, that would maybe stop people from buying houses for 60, 90 days or more? Does everybody in this room have enough money saved to get through that period? Or will that make you 60 days, 90 days behind on all your bills for the rest of your life? Right? I'm not saying it'll bankrupt you, but it might have a cloud over for the rest of your life. You're always 60 days or 90 days behind because you can't catch up. Right? Think about amount of money that you want to have saved to get you through that period, right? Whether it's $50,000 or 2 or 3 months. Everybody write down an amount. Write down an amount of money that you want to have saved to get through that period. Now that you have that amount of money, you know every penny after that you should invest. Okay? A lot of people say, a lot of financial planners say save 10% of everything you make. You heard that? Yep. Right? I'm a little bit different. I think you should save that. Let's say that's 50 grand that you want to have. Save 50 grand. Every penny over 50, you invest in real estate. That's how you get wealthy. If you look at the millionaires and billionaires in the United States, 90-some% of them got rich by real estate. Have you heard that? Right? Okay. What is the significance of this picture, you think? This is a picture taken on February 23rd, 2000. That's me, okay, with hair. My wife hates that I use this picture, right? Oh my God, there's no makeup, and I just was. What do you think the significance of this is? What's that?
You started saving, you reached your goal of your savings.
Exactly. This is a picture I took, self-photograph, right, on a timer when we became millionaires. Anybody remember Microsoft Money? It's a program, right? You hit a button, and at the end of every day, it was like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock after the stock market closed. It would go through the numbers, and it would tell you how much money you have saved, right? Every day I would hit that. I got home from work. I hit it. It said I have $1,014,000. I said, woo! We're millionaires. Let's celebrate. How do you think we celebrated? Miller Lite and French fries, right? Here's a question for you. Are you a millionaire or are you a fillionaire? You ever heard this term, fillionaire? Does anybody know what a fillionaire is? Fillionaire is a fake millionaire. Fake millionaire has a $10,000 watch, but they don't have $10,000 in the bank. They got a beautiful house, beautiful landscaping, looks really good, but they're paying their payments commission to commission, right? Something bad happens, they be behind or they are behind. That's a fillionaire, right? So I like to say we save this money by being not fillionaires, by being millionaires. A fillionaire would say, hey, you know, we just saved $1 million. How would they celebrate? Champagne, caviar, right? 10 limousines for all my closest friends. My wife came to me, she goes, great, we're millionaires. How do you want to celebrate? I said, I don't care, so long as it doesn't cost more than $13.99. That's how we got the French fries. You got to be cheap, you got to live below your means. So once you save a lot of money, what has Monopoly taught us? Invest in real estate. This has a second chapter to it. This was February 2000, right? What happened a year later or within the next 12 months? What do you think happened? Stock market crashed, right? Eventually 9/11 happened, crashed even more. Our savings account went from $1.2 million to $368,000. We lost $830,000 in a year. $830,000. What lesson did I learn? Diversify, right? Invest in what you know. What do we know in this room? Real estate, right. I immediately stopped investing in the stock market and started investing in real estate. Okay? What did Monopoly teach us in real estate? What do you do first? You buy little green and you trade them in for big red. Right. I bought over 50 little red houses, did a lot of flippers, rented a bunch out, sold them all except for my 4 best ones, paid off my 4 best ones, sold the rest, and bought resident and commercial. Right? This is a shopping center I own. I also own portions of an office building, a warehouse, 2 apartment complexes, those companies that I told you about. Majority of my holdings are either now in real estate or private companies. Most of them are in real estate. Okay? This one pays me $3,700 a month, passive income. All right? I have 2 houses that are backing up to a sorority house at University of Maryland College Park. Guess what happened in the sorority, on sorority row and fraternity row? University of Maryland. What's a disaster that could happen to a sorority or fraternity? But like a rule that would be a disaster. No beer. No beer. Guess what? I own 2 houses right behind the biggest sorority house. I have 9 girls. 12 girls that share 2 houses I own side by side. That sorority pays me $8,000 a month, and the houses are paid off. $8,000 a month from a sorority, 1 check. Long-term tenant, because they keep trade, right? They want those houses year in and year out. That's a jackpot, right? I get that. I get this. I got all the other. That's what you call mailbox money, right? Mailbox money is what money you get in your mailbox while you're sleeping. Some people ask, well, Pat, why are you selling books? You know, why do you still have a team? Why do you do all these active income things? Why don't you just retire on your passive income? Right, and do what? Same reason why Brad Pitt keeps making movies, right? Because it's my DNA, because we have to keep working. But if I wanted to, and if it's a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock at night, and some schmuck is calling me because his brochures are wrong, and I know he's a jerk, I have the choice to say, I'm not going to take that call, right? And I think ideally that's where we all want to be as realtors, is we want to be to the point where, you know, we can choose whether we work or not. Are you with me? I think ultimately that's our goal, and it's my goal for you to get to the same point, and that's where I'm sharing with you this information. Now, what I'd like to do is take a couple minutes of your questions, and then I'm going to finish up with just a couple minutes at the end with a recap of things. So what questions do you have that I can help you with? Does anyone have a question? Anyone? Yep.
What does your team consist of right now?
My team consists of 15 people. Majority of them are staff. About 5 are agents. And it's run by my partner, Mike Sloan. He owns half of the company, so to speak. And we split the profits 50-50. So it runs on its own. Yep.
Yes, I have a question in reference to the phone calling. What is your take on contact being email as opposed to a telephone call?
I don't have a problem with email. It works. And it's easier just so long as you do it. When I was prospecting for all the foreclosures, I paid a virtual assistant $10 an hour to call me every 2 days a week between 2 and 4 and listen as I sent emails to banks. And I would say, I'm sending an email to Bank of America asking them, can I work with them on foreclosures? I'm now sending, and I would carbon copy her. And the point was, because she kept me accountable. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't, dilly-dallying, right? I was sending massive emails over a 2-hour period.
Did you think those were as effective as a phone call?
I would say they can be. I don't want to discount email because it does, as long as you're doing something to try to, if you're asking for business or who do you know that needs to buy or sell a house in the next 6 months, it could work. It's what doesn't work is not doing it at all. So probably phone calls might be more effective because you're putting them on the spot, but I don't want to discount emails. You'd have to judge and see what works and what doesn't.
Want to put someone on the spot?
Yes. Yes.
You can't put them on the spot on an email.
Right. So then probably phone calls work better. Sorry. Yeah. Anything else? All right, so remember, here I was. First year in the business, I made $13,000, right? All the way over here, 3 years in a row, gross income was $5 million. A lot of people say, oh, well, what was the net? Well, our net was about 24%. So I'll let you do the math. But I go from 13.2, had to throw in the 2, all the way over to 5 million, right? I go from working every day, 150 days off a year, right? Every single goal that I set, I have the same 6 steps. It's my goal for you to set goals, put the 6 steps to them, and achieve those goals. So I need you to tell me how you're going to achieve the goals that you set. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? What is step 4? What is step 5? What is step 6? Good job. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you very much for coming. You guys have been a great crowd. Go Austin. Thanks, guys.
Talk about what they need to do to get the book.
Yeah, all the books.
wait.
Fill out these forms.
Hold on.
Make
Can y'all
sure
have your seats, please? We're not ready. We're not done.
the home address. Just make sure your home address is on there. It's all self-explanatory.
I know, we're not done yet, so if I could have your attention for just 1 more minute. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Pat, that was fantastic. Really appreciate you coming out. I had a request from one of the founders of AREP to have a few minutes to speak. Huh? Okay. And his name is Michael Grant. He's going to speak about a very special cause, and then we can go drink. So, without ado, Michael Grant. Very good.
I'll make it real quick. I just wanted to tell you guys about a special event we're going to be doing on August 27th. You can write that down. It's a Saturday. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to do a huge fundraiser for Joplin, Missouri. The fundraiser is a super cool event. It's an aerial photo, and it's going to spell out Austin loves Joplin. So this is open to the entire city of Austin. We're donating 100% of the funds to families of Joplin. I just got back from there about a week ago. It's pure devastation. If you can imagine Steiner Ranch, Avery Ranch, and Circle C being wiped out tomorrow, that's what these guys are experiencing right now. So if y'all can make it out, please do. Please visit austinlovesjoplin.com and register today. We appreciate it, and all the money will go to Joplin. Thanks, guys.
All right, folks. Like I said, thank you so much for being here. The happy hour is open. We do have a save the date, September 21st. We're going to be doing a casino night and a fashion show at Montevideo condominium. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Please join us for that. And again, thank you so much.
Probably go on their website.